Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code with the screen door effect. Like, literally, screen door. Would you quit calling me that, DC Aggie? I don't even know what that means. That's just rude, calling me names that I can't understand. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're looking out a... Oh, it's not even a screen door. I was wrong. It's one of those... what are they called? The privacy glass, maybe? It's one of those privacy glass things with the ridges. And it's looking outside. What? Why? Why would they even allow this? Anyway, it's somewhere in Brooklyn in December of 2024. And I bet you it's snowing outside at that time. And guess what? Guess what? It's currently snowing here. The ruffles of windows. But yeah, okay. Anyway, welcome in. Today is Friday, and on Friday, on this channel specifically, that means it is Community Day. And Community Day is a day where we get to talk about whatever conversation pieces that you want to bring up. If you have things to share, if you have projects that you're working on, questions in those projects, then feel free to bring those up today. If you just want to show off what you've been working on and want us to take a look at it, show it off today. And if you want to continue conversations from previous community days, such as in the AI topics that we have been discussing lately, then today is also a great day to do that. I do have more to say on it, of course. I think it's a topic that we could talk about for a really long time and not run out of things to say. So I'll leave that open to you. First, I want to give the floor to you and see if there's anything you want to bring up. In the meantime, I was taking a look at an issue that I received yesterday after I got off of work, and I wrote them back first thing this morning, and I was like, I'll take a look at it. And I was finishing up the thing that I was doing at the end of the day yesterday. And then that went all the way up until exercise time. So then I did the exercise, came back, and then got to a stopping point with that thing again. And then I looked it up and it was just a checkbox that they weren't unchecking. So I felt really bad about taking that long to get back to them. But usually when it comes to RMA water, it's something pretty involved, and I didn't want to interrupt the flow of what I was working on. So yeah, it was a checkbox. It was a checkbox. And not only that, I was able to find the email where we decided that that checkbox would filter out the values for the thing that she was having trouble seeing. So I was like, okay, this is something we decided. This was official. I didn't just arbitrarily decide that we aren't going to show those values if this checkbox is checked. It was on purpose, which is good, which was cool, which is fantastic, which is wonderful, which is marvelous. Anyway, so how are you? TBD, great stream this morning. Getting some progress done on developers.stream. Developers.stream. Which is a resource that we'll be able to use in the future that will allow us to get information about developers that stream. If you are a developer that streams, you can enter in your information. It's opt-in, so it's not just going to happen automatically. He's not crawling Twitch and YouTube and whatever other streaming services, platforms there are out there to do streaming. It's opt-in. You sign up for it. You enter your information, and for people that are looking for developer streamers, they can go into the web app for it, do a search for whatever topic, whatever language, whatever type of thing that they're looking for, and they'll get the list of people who are currently live, people who stream that, and what platforms they're streaming on. And then if you are using a bot as a streamer, then you will have access to an API, probably, maybe. that you'll be able to query whenever someone chats, for example. So like if TBD said, whoa, does that make me the first one? Then I could have done a lookup, since it was his first chat message of the day, check to see, is he in developers.stream? If so, does he have a description? If so, then I'm going to do a shout out for him and put the blurb that he chose to put in there. And there you go. Yeah. Okay, so that's just one of the two projects. We'll talk about the other project later, perhaps when there is more attention on it. So shout out to TBD Gamer for now, and then we'll do a shout out for Tyndall, who just came in. Hello, Tyndall. Hope you're having a great day. Greetings, wonderful humans, lions, and others who don't identify as either of those two. Greetings to you as well, Phantasmal Tyndall. The one, the only, the magical Tyndall, and his cat Zelda. Oh man. So, like I said, I'm gonna try. I'm like bursting at the seams to bring up some topics surrounding AI, especially things that we've been saying over the past couple of weeks, and something that I've been hearing more and more. I do have a few notes to help me remember things as they come up. But again, if there's anything that you would prefer to talk about in this given moment, then please bring it up. You know what? I should have ran the bot on a different computer because I forgot that I was going to be working on it. The other thing that we could do, although today might not be the best day because I've been doing a lot of prompting and I have no idea how many messages I have left in my Claude plan, but we were talking about going through a demo usage of Claude doing an actual implementation of something on his own. And I have an idea for what that something can be now. I've written down some notes, and I guess what I would be demonstrating is this thing called coding. You know what we should call it? We should call it what it is: AI assisted partner programming, or just AI partner programming, because that's what it is. It's not vibe coding. It's not. No. No. It is AI partner programming, because a lot of the times what ends up happening is the person participating in the vibe coding is getting frustrated, which is anti-vibe. So you're tainting the word vibe, in my opinion. Yes, TC Haggy says vibe coding means not editing, fixing, reading the code produced. I think a better name is sus code. Yes. GitHub Copilot driven development. Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't like the terms that are trying to make it sound like something amazing or anything like that, or piggyback off of other popular terms. Let's just call it partner programming, because that's what it is. You're partnering with an AI agent to program, to do software development. How much of it is on a spectrum, depending on how much you're going to trust it. Let me Google that for me. I'm used to do mostly Stack Overflow driven development. TBD Gamer says, I sit with you and you say vibe, I'm hanging up on you. Oh dear. Like, I can see a good synergy happening between two people that have the same vibe, and that would be vibe coding. But I mean, the overarching thing, so that we aren't trying to sell this thing as something it's not, is just partner programming. You're working with it. President Not Sure is saying, so the problem is we need a word or phrase to describe when you don't review what the agent does, but let it keep going. So you're not really participating very much, at least for that amount of time. Yeah. Cheat coding. I'm listening to music, getting good vibes while coding. Yeah, exactly. That's vibe coding. You're in flow. You're in flow state, and that's where they probably want you to get, but the technology doesn't seem to be there from my perspective. There is a ton of user interaction of the developer that is prompting the system to produce some kind of code, some kind of product, some feature, fixing whatever, is involved in reviewing pretty much everything that it spits out. And again, that's why I think that maybe what I have been doing has been more successful than the experiences that people have said they've had. And that's kind of why I want to show that process. But I do have a project that I think would be perfect for that. We can try it and see if I run out of messages, if you're interested in seeing that. It's different than using an agent and reviewing it periodically. Correct. Yeah, I agree. And the direction we're going is more clippy. I still don't think so. I think, well, maybe. I could convince myself of that. Yeah. That is kind of the direction we're going. You start doing something and it automatically helps you out by bringing in related info and coming up with suggestions instead of you querying it. I mean, that's what Copilot is all about, but the actual agents that you are interacting with and prompting and guiding, I don't think that one is clippy-esque. President Not Sure is saying, if there becomes a time soon when it's clear that doing that which shall not be named is a waste of time, what, partner programming with AI? Then people will stop doing it and call it that. Yeah. But I don't know. I still think it's a good thing to use as that. So that's I have molded and solidified, or at least gotten to a more concrete idea of what my feelings surrounding utilizing AI in your workflow is. And so one of the topics that has come up, and I know that it has been stated, and I'm trying to say this in a way that I am not trying to single any one person out, but I do think this is a shared opinion that I have a differing opinion about. So the majority believes it to be this way. Junior developers have no reason to use AI agents to do their work for them, and leave it at that. Like, it's one thing, I'm sure we can agree on this part, but if not, definitely voice your opinion. It's one thing to say that junior developers can use AI as like a search engine tool that'll filter things out for them that they can learn from. But I think a lot of people have a similar idea that junior developers won't even know what to look for one, and two, they're just going to use it in such a way that's, tell me how to do this, I'll copy paste it. We don't have very high confidence in junior developers using the tool as a show me how to do this and I will type it in myself, following the patterns that you're guiding me through. Maybe you only provide code snippets where it's one line at a time. But again, regardless of that, I have a completely different view that I don't think is very popular. So Thindle was saying, yeah, but Copilot gives you code suggestions based on what you're doing, but imagine starting to work on a client for, I don't know, Twitch, and it automatically bring up the documentation for the API in a tab because it knows what you need. Hey, that's what I was doing yesterday at the end of the day, or during my 2 hours after work, instead of actually writing a client for you. Yeah, and I was having Claude write the entire client. So yeah. And it was the opposite. I was Claude's Clippy. So I think that's more appropriate in this situation. That's the direction I think we're heading. We are the AI agents Clippy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Instead of actually writing clamp for you. All right. DC Aggie is saying, yeah, the fad will pass or whatever it ends up will get a different name. I mean, I can't imagine the current name sticking around. Have you heard the term metaverse? It's still sticking around, even though it's getting so abused and has very little meaning anymore because it's so convoluted. So I don't know. Humans are surprising. We sometimes latch onto a thing, and then the people who control there are certain individuals that hold more sway, and if they want the term vibe coding to stick around, sorry I keep cursing, then it's going to stick around. Such an oxymoron. It looks like President Nutcher is saying, yeah, I like that. We're Clippy. It looks like you're struggling with that, agent, or whatever. Bindle's saying, hey, GitHub, it looks like I'm trying to write a Twitch client. Do you want me to help with that? Or will you write the whole thing for me? I think you're right about the metaverse, says President Not Sure, but do you ever really hear that anymore? Sort of like cyberspace, the information superhighway. True, you're right. I haven't heard it much lately because I have not been researching AR and other topics surrounding it, so I don't know whether it's fallen out of favor in the community. You guys are bringing up some great comments. I hope it's not too much for you to type while I'm still rambling off. I hope you're still able to get your thoughts out because I do want to hear them. I'm appreciating everything you're typing right now, so thank you for that. TBD Gamer is saying, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this might explain the Twitch API. That Claude wrote it. Claude took the IRC and PubSub and said, let's mash them together into one simplified, streamlined API. Is that what you're thinking, TBD? Or whatever internal tool they have that is their AI agent. I think there is a term that I want to define at some point. I was kind of wanting to search for it now, but the person that I was talking about, what, yesterday or 2 days ago, that had the really cool TED Talk, it wasn't a TED Talk, it was a TED Talk interview, TED interview, whatever those are called, with Sam Altman, the founder, one of the CEOs, whatever they're called, of OpenAI. So he was being interviewed, he was getting asked some of the typical questions, and he was trying not to answer typically. Some of them had the typical questions. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't know that for sure. The only thing I know is when I saw him talking, what he was saying. So I'm not gonna go too much deeper than that to give my opinion on Sam Altman himself, just the things that he said during interviews that I've seen him in, because I don't know his person personally. Let me mark my place here while I say this, but one of the things that he was talking about during that was agentic AI, and then they were convoluting that term by saying AGI in the same sentence as agentic AI, and it seemed like the interviewer knew that they're not the same thing, but honestly, I don't know truly the official definition of agentic AI. I only have my own connotation, which is AI that is able to go off and do tasks. And it may interact with other agentic AI. But there was one portion of that confused it for me, which is when they said agency. And I'm like, okay, so is agentic AI really relating more to AI having agency, which talks more to it has consciousness, it has awareness, which is very different than here is this thing that has access to resources that is able to act independently as an agentic system. So that was, I do want to look it up eventually, but maybe if you have opinions on it, we talk about your opinions on it first, or if you actually know what it means, then please feel free to type it in. But I'm not looking it up just yet. Okay, so back to chat. DC Aggie was saying, the hackathon is tomorrow. I'll happily report my experience. I think I might even get a trial of the tools. So let me know if you'd like to put them through any experiments. Cool. Very cool. Thindle said, the Zuck killed the word metaverse by absorbing the word and marketing the crap out of it. Yeah, absolutely. Without having anything to back it up. And I kind of like, vibe is such a common term. It's not really technical in nature. It doesn't really point to any specific type of system. So it's not like the word itself is going to get convoluted or anything. I just think it got tainted. That's all. That's all. Because now people are going to associate vibe with frustrating experience trying to get the thing to do what you want it to do. So President Not Sure is saying, those examples I mentioned are starting to feel like something really old, like something you'd hear in an old newsreel from the 1930s. The new information superhighway. Brought to your doorstep. DCIE says, Bolt.new and Windsurf. I don't know either of those or what they were specific to. Are those the tools that you're going to be using in the hackathon? I have never heard of either of those. Grant's here. Hello, Grant. How are you doing? I'm going to catch up to your message here shortly. So give me a second. They have more to back it up today, but they didn't when they started talking about it. I mean, still, the concept of what metaverse truly means is just it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means everything from a spectrum of you're using a computer that has AR on it, or you're using a tablet device that has AR on it, to you're in a full VR, different environment experience that other people are able to join, to more stricter definitions that say in order for it to be a true metaverse, and it must be cross-platform. It must also allow you to take goods and assets from one experience to another experience. Yeah. So convoluted up the woozah. And then President Usher said, or an old corporate promotional film. Yeah, is that what I sounded like just then? To be deleted is here. Hello, to be deleted, said Sam Altman wants to steal our eyeballs. I don't know about that. It's possible. I mean, people in those positions have whatever motives they have. I have opinions about it. My opinions are surrounding the love of money and wanting more money. Sam Altman in the interview did not strike me as that, but again, I don't know his true person. He presents as an INTJ, and because of that, I can guess at his internal motivations and his value system, but he is most likely an Enneagram 5 first, and I'm an Enneagram 5 in my tri-type, which means that I don't experience it the same way he does, and he has 9 in his most likely, just guessing at all of these. So again, I don't really know. Even if I knew his exact personality type, I would not know what his true motives are, or if he's being genuine when he's on stage and saying things. Okay, here's what I know about Sam Altman, says Thindle. So we are going to stay talking about specific people just because I mentioned he had an interview. He's a person who got kicked out by the investors and everyone went bananas, so they took him back. I don't know why everyone went bananas though. Because he had this system that everyone in the world was using and they didn't want it taken away or changed. and he was the only one democratizing it in a way where he's still making money off of it, most likely, but that a lot of people have access to. And the people that kicked him out, the situation surrounding it seemed like they did not want AI to progress as fast as it had been. But his argument was AI is going to progress that fast regardless of whether he's at the helm or not. He would just prefer to be the one helping to guide where it goes, because he believes his motives and ideas are the better path forward. And that's what a person with values would think, if that is in fact what he was thinking. But no guarantees that's what he was thinking. So back to agentic. President Not Sure said, I'm almost there, Grant. 2 more messages. I think agentic means it can do tasks, but not it has agency. Yeah, but during this interview, they brought up the idea of agency and AGI in the same conversation, like section of conversation where the interviewer was asking about agentic AI. So I agree with you. The pure form of agentic AI seems like it just means something that can act independently to perform tasks without needing to check in with you. It can check in with you, it can report to you, but it can go off, do reservations for you, make phone calls, set up appointments, whatever else. Like agentic means it's something that seems like it has agency, but it really doesn't. So for me, that's the term that I've been using, which is, oh no. Sentient seeming. So sentient seeming is a term that will help you keep in mind the thing you are interacting with is not necessarily sentient. So it's not, there's so many terms to use that are better terms. It is not anthropomorphizing AI. It is saying, I am going to interact with you as if you are sentient, with the understanding that you most likely are not. And that's it. Okay. So now we're at Grant. So Grant's over on YouTube checking in with us. If you guys don't know Grant, we used to work together at the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge. Grant, I don't know if you know, but I am back at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. So I went to Sajeti for a while, and then I went back to RMA, but I am contracted directly with them, and I'm working on the apps again. But Grant is saying, I've missed your face. I haven't watched you in a while, my friend, and I have failed to stay active in the community. You have not failed in any way. Everything is optional. Everything is when you have the time, if you feel like doing it, if you even remember to do it. But when you do, it is very welcome. But I am doing well, says Grant, and hope you're doing great. I'm doing fantastic. The Vibe Coding Tools sponsors. Thindle says, I'm also in an environment others can join, but I don't want them to, which is why I always lock my front door. Spaceballs 2, the quest for more money. Merchandising. That's where the real money is made. Thindle says, hi, Grant. Dukesoft says, hi, Grant. I say, hi, Dukesoft. Grant says, and I'm back in Georgia, my friend. It's Duka. Oh, right. Speaking of Duka, we're going to shout out Thindle because he was next in line. So check out Thindle.net developer working on modernizing apps, working on current modern applications as well. So not just modernizing, but also making really cool stuff with modern technology in the .net arena. So, okay, I'm going to quiet down a bit because there are some of you that are probably trying to type and my voice just keeps interrupting your thoughts. So feel free to type. I will read chat as it comes. And in the meantime, I don't really have a thing in mind that I'll be working on. Speaking of Duka, look at the cool Thindle. Look at the cool Duka scene. The weather. Well, it is snowing here. See if I can get a shot of what it looks like outside. Kitty at my foot and I want to touch it. Oh my gosh. I can't type though. Ew. Oh, I love that sound. What did I fail at though? I was just enjoying it, but I didn't realize what I failed at. Video from outside. Can I pop this out? Just make it take up. Okay, yes. So it's also kind of funny because this is where I also want to keep an eye on this anyway. Hey, I have a delivery from ADT. So these are the 2 garbage cans that I think were taken from the curb 2 Fridays ago and then mysteriously reappeared last Friday. And then I got a new one from the actual trash company because we needed one. How can you not grab the package? You're right. Absolutely right. I need to go get it. Meow. Right, meow. It'll give you time to type. Because I really want, hey, that's a Tesla. I really want your opinions on this stuff. And I don't want to force my opinions on you while you write. I love hearing what you guys have to say. It is fantastic. It's been a great conversation these past few weeks. Ooh, a box. All right, I'm going to go get the box. Typey. Write an essay if you want. I'm all about the disgruntledness surrounding corporations, companies, and their motivations. Like, why would you give us sensors that have batteries that require you to call in to replace? Well, so that when you call them, they can upsell you. And what happened during my call when I needed to replace batteries on these motion detectors was, hey, if you sign up for another 1-year contract, we'll lock in your price at what it is today. It won't go up. Okay, cool. Let's do that. I plan on being here for a while. Out of breath because stairs. But then you also have another offer. We've partnered with Google for providing outdoor cameras, and you are one of the accounts that can receive a free outdoor camera. I'm like, cool, let's do that if it's free. Okay, so we set that up, and as I'm talking to the person that's setting up the shipping, they're sending me the paperwork that's needed to sign for it, and of course, here's the thingy that says you need to pay the tax, the sales tax, which is only like $1 and something. And you will also be paying an extra $1 and something for the warranty of the camera, for the service of the camera. And it's like, you lied to me. Yeah, isn't the sales tax on $0? $0? But anyway, it's only $1 a month. So that's what this is, though. It's an outdoor camera that is going to be connected to my security system. And I have just the place for it. It's like 1.5 Big Macs per year, man. Okay, did we get anything else? Drink water. That's what we got. There was some grant stuff, some DC Aggie stuff. It's just cold here, or just cool here, not quite cold. Grant said if they would let me work remotely, I wouldn't mind working with you again. So I don't have a junior, and there is no junior in the contract anymore, or a second developer. I'm sure you are way beyond junior now. You've gotten more than 6 years, I'm assuming, in .NET Dev by now. It's been that long. Holy crap, Grant. It's been a long time. So I wouldn't call you a junior anyway, but I'm an individual contractor, 1099 directly with Navarro, who is holding the prime contract. ICS is gone. Yeah. It's just Navarro and AECOM now. DC Aggie says Snowview. There's no view like Snowview. Would actually love it. Thindle says, how can you not grab the package? I mean, not because it might disappear, but because new toys. New toys. Ooh, a box. Can we unbox it on stream? We can. I mean, it's not going to be anything special. It's not like the new PC or anything. Box cutter, not knife. I am not using a knife on Twitch. I'm using a box cutter. Not violating TOS. Yes, we got plastic. Are you recyclable? Yes, recyclable. We got recyclable plastic. Isn't that just the best? And could you send the empty box to me afterwards? No, I cannot. Why would you build a sensor using batteries that can't sense when the battery is running low? But it can. But it did. The panel told me, and it kept beeping at me. And it was like, you need to call in. 7? Question mark. Jumping off, buddy. I have an interview at 1:30 and I gotta get ready for that. All right, good luck. Best of luck, Grant. Actually, you don't need luck. You're just gonna get it. I hope you do well. I hope you feel like you do well, because you are going to do well. There, I said it the right way finally. Plastic is only ever recyclable. Technically, burning it is recycling it into dirty fuel. True. We have a pickup for the plastic bags too, because I don't go places. Like, the only place that we can recycle is the grocery store. So when we get our groceries delivered, one of the things they do is pick up our old bags, so that the next time they're at the store, they can just put it into the recycle. Grant popped in. Oh, wait, Grant popped out. No, Grant popped in.
Yeah, buddy, I just jumped in for a little second. How you doing?
Doing well.
God, I missed your beautiful, beautiful face, sir.
Well, thank you. Here's a donut.
I like
Actually,
donuts,
that's not
but
a
I don't
donut.
like metallic donuts.
It's just a lid. Everything is flammable if you try hard enough. So, what have you been doing? What have you been up to? What's been going on in Grant's life?
Well, I moved back to Georgia in 2024. with me living in downtown Denver, it was getting a little bit too expensive,
Yeah,
and I
it's
missed
just
my
getting more
family.
expensive.
So yeah, yeah, I missed my family, so I decided it was time to move back.
Are you gonna eat you a lot of peaches?
Oh, all of them. It's strawberry season right now, and end of May, start of June, that's whenever peach season is in effect. So
Are you
I'm looking
moving to the
forward to that.
country? Gonna eat you a lot of
Actually,
peaches?
yes. I went from downtown Denver, a few blocks from 16th Street Mall, to the nearest gas station is about 15 miles away from us, and
Hmm. Sounds like where I used to live in Missouri.
so it's very peaceful. So I just wanted to drop on and say, "Hey, buddy," and hear your voice, let you hear my voice for a little bit.
Awesome. Well,
All
it
right,
is
buddy.
good to hear your voice. It is awesome.
Good to hear you too, buddy. See ya.
Yep. Ciao. Yeah, he didn't it's kind of hard because like why is their band name something that I don't want to bring up as a topic on our stream, but I mean, I used to listen to them all the time, the Presidents. Yeah. I did a reference. I did a reference, guys. Are you proud of me? Okay, so topic has been stalled for a little bit. We haven't had any new thoughts on it. So, is there somewhere else you would like to go? Or should we just jump in and give the old tires a kick? Greece would be nice. I've always wanted to visit Santorini just because it looked so nice. And I probably have this romantic vision of what it would be like to visit Santorini. And it's probably nothing close to that. Do I even ow. Yeah, I wouldn't be prepared to do it this stream if we were going to do it, but we can try some things. Do some agentic AI stuff. No. Just kidding. Git. Automated Realms, public site. I'm going to open it, but I might need to delete it and reclone it. But we're going to go to the Automated Realms public website because I've been wanting to at least get a landing page going for it. And that could be what we use, what we go through as our example for how I might go about using Claude to pretty much create an entire web app. It still says client solution? It does. Didn't I push done? Thank you so much, Nindle. I could have sworn that I pushed done in OBS. Okay. Are you telling me that this repo is not trusted? Yeah, so what happened was, oh, BS? I'm sorry, what? No, for mine. OBS being BS? No, not at all. It's just OBS. So what happened was that, oh no, I still needed it open. What it was that happened was that I originally cloned these when this computer was Thyrobius on a different username. So I had my wife's login, Microsoft login on this computer, and then we repurposed it to be my streaming computer. So then I have my Microsoft login, and I didn't want to lose any of my potential what is it called? Work that was done on it. How do I? It's not even giving me the thing I was expecting to see where it says that this repo is not trusted. So click trust. Well, crap. Oh, because this is a Git repo. Yeah. Why are you being weird? Why aren't you giving me the trust thing? Trust. Whatever. I have this backed up anyway, so if there was pending changes, if there are things in here that I wanted to keep, which is the whole reason I backed up the folder as it was and then restored it onto this computer, I can still get it from where it's currently living. But for now, I will delete a repo from local and come on, I will open terminal and we will GitHub my automated realms. Automated realms. I wonder if it has access to private repos in the organization. We're going to find out together, aren't we? Aren't we? Again, please feel free to steer the conversation. I don't want to steal the floor. It is definitely community day. If you want, I can say instead my relatively secure opinion that I don't think will be changing too much. I think I can confidently say it is what I'm trying to say. Because I will change my mind about things as I learn new information, as I expect everyone to. But specifically in this case, it has to do with the use of AI by junior developers. Git clone. No, don't let me keep you from doing stuff, Dindle. I really, really enjoy you being here, but don't let it interfere with your actual real life. Hey, here we go. I'm sorry to bait you like that, TBD. I'll bring you into the stream room in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Some time for the lag, and welcome in.
Oh.
Is it possible to create a WYSIWYG component in Blazor without using JavaScript or any external libraries? Good question. But hi, TBD, you first. You got here. You're here.
So I'd drop in and take the chance that am I loud or am I good?
Well, that's my fault because I had to turn you up a lot last time because your microphone did the thing where it cut down and then I forgot to turn your volume back down. But you're good. You're good.
Yeah. This weekend might be the rip all the equipment apart. Yeah, I just figured I'd drop in and have a chat. The AI topic has definitely continued to appear throughout the week, right? It appeared in my stream as well the other day.
Sure did. Well, I mean, you are the one that recently mentioned an opinion on junior developers using AI. So if you want to talk about that at all, if you feel like talking about that at all, again, you can choose wherever we go.
I think I've said a lot about it overall. I really do worry about the quality of what we've got coming. With like I don't necessarily prescribe to. I see junior only as
years of experience.
Yeah, well, no, not even years. I'm not years. I don't prescribe years.
Amount of experience.
You know, even amount of experience. Sometimes having people who are fresh to something gives you perspective. So I feel that like saying junior and senior kind of creates lines that means that we kind of say, oh well, you're junior, therefore your opinion doesn't quite hold as much weight. I think DCAG said something last week about basically your experience with the business. So I kind of see more like if I go into a new business, I am
New
junior
industry,
in the business
for
because I
example.
don't industry. Yeah, I don't understand the industry. So I'm a junior as far as that goes. The code,
Mhm.
yeah, the code's great, but if the code's representing what the business does, then it's going to take me a long time to get up to speed with that. But as far as using AI, the people we normally consider juniors, the less experienced developers, the less experienced, you know, are more likely to just take what it gives them. And I do worry that we're going to get into this world of, well, we've kind of, when DCAG said a lot last week.
Yeah. And I have some
this.
notes on it if you need me to remind you of any of it. Because he
No,
said a
no,
lot of really good stuff. And so did you.
Yeah, this concept of just building applications and the business feeling that, we need to, that we can replace people with it is very frustrating. But like, I'm reminded of, you find a new technology and it's really cool. Like I remember the first time I came across Signaler, it was very, very early on, not even released yet. I don't think Microsoft had taken up the cause yet with it. I think it was just kind of the tool from Fowler and whatnot. And I was tinkering with it and immediately showing it off and trying to build something with it in an actual business environment. And then when you go to use it in earnest in production, you get tripped up because you don't quite understand all the things, all the nuances of how to use it properly, how to scale it, how to do all those things. And I think that's over the years something that I've learned, that I should not rush to introduce new technology. It's fun, it's great to use it, and we should do, but we have to also understand how and why we're using it, and then understand our limitations. A company I worked for, we'd gone through, we'd introduced Mongo, we'd introduced distributed systems, we'd all introduced this, and the business wasn't moving forward with it. And then when they brought new people in, they didn't understand it, so they scrapped it all, because they couldn't, we couldn't, or the development team at that point couldn't tell them what it did or how it did it properly because they didn't have the experience. We just kind of made things work. And I think that's the fear I have of AI driven development. And the more junior you are in terms of your general coding skill set, the fewer questions you're going to ask, and the more you're going to move on to the next solve, without thinking about the consequences of what you have done. So that's my overriding concern about it. So it's just it becoming such a crutch that we can't leave it.
And if you're okay with it, I would like to continue in that vein then, and have a conversation with you again. My goal is not to try to say your view or opinion is incorrect, but that here's another way to look at it mostly. That could also be correct. Is that okay? Or would you prefer to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
okay, cool.
I think talking about it is always helpful, and you should be willing to change your views and opinions, with perspective.
Yeah, well, again, my arguments would not be for trying to have someone else change their opinions. It's just to express it so that you can do whatever you want with it. All right, cool. So first of all, hi, Landon. Welcome in. We're having a great day so far. MongoDB web scales. Yes. Thank you. It's a good thought. Was there something more to that you would want to indicate? This is going to be WYSIWYG. Oh my gosh, how do you spell WYSIWYG? WSY? What? WYS?
What you see is what you get.
IWYG. Yes. So hard for my brain to parse. Source. Okay, this is where I'm going to put it. Let me just create this project real quick, and then I will indicate Laser with Z. It was just an old meme. Okay. I'm out of touch with memes and stuff. I will know some. It'll just be random ones that I happen to come across, but I am out of touch with it. Okay. So regarding the the places where I think the sources of your fears are coming from sound like it has to do with, one, is a product going to be accepted by whatever company you happen to be working for? If it was like some other developer, I put an I in there. There is an I. Some other developer put it together, regardless of their experience level. For now, let's just say that it's someone that does know what they're doing, but doesn't fully understand the technology that they are trying to say, we should use this technology. And so they spend 2 months, 3 months working on this using AI and scrapping it together and trying to figure out how to get it to work. And then the product owner says, okay, well, that's not working. Your team just wasted a whole bunch of time working on this thing. We actually don't need you guys. We're going to go with this other team. Or something, dramatic is what I'm trying to get at. So there's a fear behind the product being made poorly, not integrated into the final overall product or whatever. Is that one of them? One of the fears? Did I even communicate that well?
I think that my point was centered around, as a developer who's looked at technologies, tried to pick up technologies and tried to stay on the cutting edge a lot throughout my career, I have learned that although a technology seems cool, that's the sort of thing I should be doing in my spare time to learn and understand some of the use cases and then understand how it might apply to how I might use it. So learn, if you pick up a hammer, you can hit things with it, right? But you don't know, if you don't know what a nail is, then you don't know you've got a purpose for this tool.
Mm-hmm.
So given the right purpose and given the right reasons, then I can build something with this technology. Building software that is that the AI is driving you towards, like, oh, I want to solve this problem. Oh, use this technology. Here's how to set it up. Here's how to do this. It's not giving you all the pieces along the way to how to use that effectively. And if you're using it straight into real code, real product, then have you learned even enough along the way to know, oh, I need to go and look that up because there was a thing there about that. It's just guided you straight to the solution and not giving you some of that learning along the way. And then if you integrate that into your production business, what happens? Because you're not the expert either. So if it goes wrong, you force other people to have to go and figure out what it's doing before they can even solve the problems.
Right. Yeah, and there's a sense that we may, and this is a real possibility, we may lose access to the original AI that was used to generate this product or this feature or whatever. And so we don't have a way to understand it, right? That was one of DC Aggie's points that I really liked. And then the one that you also just kind of said in a different way was that we don't have anyone who is accountable for it because we don't own it. AI generated it and we just used it. So no one has any real claim on, I am liable for the code that was generated, or is it the AI company that makes this LLM that makes it available that's liable for that? So if it causes harm or if it breaks stuff. So those were my favoritist arguments on that. I have no rebuttals against those. But what I will say though is I don't foresee, I mean, it is still a very high possibility. I don't know. maybe it's a medium possibility, and that's why I'm not convinced fully. But I don't see losing access to the AI tools in software development. If you created it on one, there will be another one out there at some point in time that you'll be able to use to resolve whatever troubleshooting issues. So the job itself, and this is the point that I'm trying to get to, the job itself may turn into, for some companies, maybe not all of them, will be use AI to accomplish this task, write software, create this feature, maintain an existing application, and improve and add. So if something goes wrong, as long as you, the person doing the support for it, knows how to correctly and accurately prompt, you might not learn anything through it. Like you're saying, because you're just accepting whatever answers you're given, you might not learn anything, but the situation does get resolved in a correct way, even, let's say. Because, like, again, I'm finding these things to be testable and accurate, and they've proven to be pretty good as far as the results that I'm getting.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'll show you. So this morning we were looking at the YouTube client, right? So we're looking at how to include YouTube off. If you look at the code it gave me, it was wrong. The API was, and that library has been around. It was for .NET 6, so the library's been around for a long time.
And was that Copilot or was that Claude?
That was Claude.
Oh.
It was off, and it copied and it actually repeated the same set of variables in 3 different places in the same code sample, right? So it's only the fact that I'm looking at the code, I'm reading the code, I'm understanding what it's doing and seeing the repetition. Okay, my solution wasn't very clean in the end, but like that was the interim solution to avoid the copy and paste. But I understood it, and I knew what I was fixing, and I understood the structure because I was reading the code and understanding that. If I'm like, that code could not just copy and paste in and work. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
If you are not paying attention to the coding and you're just trying to rely on that, how does that code look? I've seen enough developers throughout my career who are capable of figuring out that, and enough that are capable of hacking at it until it works, and just keep adding more code in and making it work. And that's my fear, is like the code samples it gives you that don't work. Do you have the skill to understand why it doesn't work and then fix it, or are you just guessing and hacking more code in? And like I said, I've seen so many of the people that are the hack at it until it works.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get at, which is that truly... Oh man, it's so hard to voice this because I have like a I have specific wording that I'm trying to just be more flowy about and let it be organic instead of trying to read from a script. But one of my arguments against that is that the amount of work that it takes in order to get the AI agent to give you output that does eventually work and do what it's supposed to, as the person who doesn't know anything about how software works is trying to get it to do what it wants, they're learning, one, how do I get the AI agent to do what I want it to do and give me code that works? Two, they may just stumble across solutions for the issue that they are trapped on, and they do learn through that process of trial and error.
If they're smart enough and motivated enough to actually pay attention to the pieces they're seeing, and also I think you're looking at this from an agentic perspective, right? Where you're having a conversation and keeping that conversation going with context. A lot of people will be using AI to, how do I make this happen? How do I make this happen? It doesn't have that context all the time, especially in the case where you said, if that AI goes away, if that LLM goes away and a new one replaces it, what do you do then? Well, it's not going to have... It works very well. Claude works really well in projects. Like, if you've got if you can give it enough context and you know what questions to ask and you know how to produce that, it will stay on task, and you can then train it to know what you're talking about, and it will stay in there. But what happens when you have another problem that comes along in your solution, right? That's not the same, but it's in the same code base.
Right.
Can Claude create consistent code? Does it
Exactly.
can I read that as easy as I could read the other
Well-
piece? Is it going to read the same? Is it going to use the same patterns? Is it going to use the same
Right.
practices?
Right.
How do you do that?
And that's where I'm getting at. So, again, we're thinking about, I guess what we would call them now are still hybrid teams, because we would have developers that know what they're doing. And then we have developers that are new to development or new to the industry and don't know what they're doing, new to the technologies, don't know what they're doing, and just accepting whatever AI shows them because they're good at doing AI code generation stuff. What you're saying is there is going to be work involved in fixing anything that was wrong with the code that was given. This still sounds to me like a developer who wrote code trying to fix something that's wrong with their code base. So that's one thing. The second thing is regarding, is it using consistent? And I know this is your thing, and I respect it very much because I love consistent code. I love looking at a nice code base where everything is, you go into a class and you know what to expect. But is it going to generate code consistently in the same format that it generated other code on a different session? And the answer is probably not. You can do things for that, like one shot or few shot examples for how you have it. You can put instructions in the project that say, here are my preferences. You can add your editor config and it'll use that for coding guidelines. But is it even to begin with an issue if the entire project is supposed to be maintained by the person that is using AI to generate it, and they aren't really looking at the code other than to fix a thing here and there as it's generating new code? Hi, Defines.
Well, sorry, I was a little bit distracted by what that.
Oh, no worries.
So I actually, as you were saying that, like, clean architecture.
Yes.
Right. Clean architecture is a concept. It's not a prescribed set of practices or a prescribed set of structures and whatnot, right? It's a concept, and I saw that when we went to refactor Liquid Sky early on, because my code base, although it was quite close and clean architecture fits pretty well for me, I went and researched by looking at some of the biggest proponents for clean architecture, their sample repos. They differ quite drastically in their wording, in their labeling, and because of the way AI works, even if you define clean architecture to it, next time you ask it, it could use a completely different source for its information. So it might feed you, one time it might feed you
and a different seed.
Yeah, it might feed you a very different version of clean architecture. So even though you say, oh, and it should be clean architecture, a new pattern, a new style, a new naming convention creeps into your code base, and now you've got a different way. Or even worse, the person reading the code doesn't understand how it fits in, but they need to know it, and then then they go jamming that in there and making the other stuff work with it. So you have an amalgamation of these concepts because the people don't understand. And I think it is DC Agate that said it, right? It might be able to code, but architecture is another thing. And architecture is something that is a bit more subtle, is a bit more personal to the team, and that unless it's trained on your code base, which we got to be careful of where that heads. And if it's trained on its own
Dewey.
code base,
Okay, yeah. That's separate, but put a pin in that.
So again, I think the key thing that I want to state is I am not saying that AI is negative in any way. I think as a tool set,
I'm not taking it that way.
Tool set, and I think, I mean, just looking at your projects there, the UI for Liquid Sky in its current form, that dashboard, that's Claude. Claude came up with most of that design, right?
Oh yeah.
We refined it, we asked it some questions, we gave it some concepts, and it actually laid them out. So that UI design is actually thanks in part to Claude. So I definitely lean on it. But I'm still concerned about people using it without context and working in that way.
Yeah. I guess now that we're at this point, I can say it like this then. I am interested to see what happens to a company if they, like all of these companies that are pushing for people to use AI in their workflow to do this coding thing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to them. Do they go back to the original way of doing things because they find out it doesn't work, or do they adopt a hybrid approach, which would be the more sensible thing to do instead of just saying burn it all down because it didn't work once? Can we refine it? Can we use it in a more sensible way? And I think it's up to us to define those guidelines and those areas where this is an appropriate way to use it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to spur discussion on. So I'm saying it's appropriate for a developer brand new to the industry that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know the industry itself, to use something like Claude, set it up appropriately, and do partner coding with it, where they are actively participating as a brand new developer that doesn't know anything about software, actively participating. Your statement is that the new developer in this scenario will potentially have motivation issues. They won't actually follow through with that. That's up to a company, that's up to a business to say, we're enforcing that. You need to be an active participant in this. So in the world where it is a brand new developer, or even just someone that doesn't want to be a developer, but they want to create products and they want AI to create the product for them. And this is like completely blowing over the whole devaluing what current software developers are like currently, devaluing them and saying we can replace them with someone that just knows how to use AI, which was one of your opening statements. But we will discuss that. So I think it's perfectly valid for a company to choose to hire someone that can do that, get a product from them, get support from them, maintenance on that product, without that person needing to know code, as long as they know how to utilize the tool that they have, AI, this hammer that they have no idea what a nail looks like, but they're expecting the AI agent to say, this is a nail, hit here, kind of thing.
I think in the current state of AI, I think if you're a company that does that, ask someone who does not know what development is and just ask them to figure it out through AI, and they feel
someone
like
who wants to do that, though, not just a random person.
I think you get everything you deserve as an organization. You're in a very bad place.
And yeah, again, it's entirely possible that's how it'll turn out. It's entirely possible it won't turn out like that.
I mean, so I've worked at many organizations. I'll start with this. I see there is one big advantage of AI for a newcomer to a code base, if the code base is allowed to be scrolled through and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I think legacy code bases, having a developer able to ask some questions about the code they're looking at to fix, I think that is a great use of AI. I think allowing you to look through and get the context of the code, having you be able to understand the business logic that's hidden in the code, might be obscured with crazy amounts of abstractions. It might be obscured with horrible variable names, but the AI can read it, can grab context from it and build it. And I think that's a very good use for a newcomer. But someone coming in with no coding experience, developing software and producing an output, Okay, that's fine. Now what happens when the business requires changes? Now what happens when the business wants to change things? Do you have enough context to ask, oh, you gave me all this, what do I change now? How do I introduce this new requirement into the process? You'd have to be very good at, and that context would have to be massive over time to continually work like that. I think that would be a major struggle. Just from having worked in lots of legacy code bases and dealt with, I'm developing Liquid Sky, dealt with so much product management where changes come along. Sometimes they're well defined, sometimes they're really vague. So a part of what we do. So again, I started my job as a developer was a side to my main priority, which was business analysis. I was asked to go to the users in the across the country in some cases and figure out what they were asking for, how they wanted it, and how it fitted in. So we have to be able to ask good questions, and we've lost that. We've got into this world where we're the little trolls in the basement. They're like, no, you can't have that. It's way too ridiculous. They go, oh, it's going to take us 3 weeks, and then we deliver it in 4 hours because we love showing off and we love doing this stuff. The analysis component, the pulling the requirements out of the users, figuring out what they actually need, and then relaying that into code is what we do. If you don't have that mentality, and there's plenty of programmers out there that don't have that mentality, that just get the job done, and those are the code bases we don't want to work in. Those are the code bases we struggle in. And that's with humans writing it. Let alone an AI that doesn't have context from session to session over how does this fit in? If you don't know how to ask the question of what changes, where do you change it? Oh, you're just going to add new systems in and new extensions, and the system is going to become fragile very quick.
I agree, and I also disagree. Because, when I think about the code bases that I've inherited, so especially this RMA Water one, or not RMA Water, just the entire RMA code base, where all of the developers disappeared before I started working there, and we didn't really have any other developers that knew code, that knew how to write code. And I needed to understand the code base and figure out how to convert from JSP to .NET, which I was comfortable with, but not modern .NET like .NET Core, because .NET Core 2.2 was what was current, and I just didn't know it. I did a ton of work to do a lot of intuitive copy pasting. Intuitive copy plus is what I'm going to call it. So I think it should be like this. I'm not familiar with architecture. I'm not familiar with all of the architectural patterns, all of the coding strategies and everything. I just know how I like my code to look. So at that point in time, it would have been extremely helpful. And I don't think I would have grown as much as I have now as a developer, but I think it would have been extremely helpful to have access to a tool like Claude, like even ChatGPT or Copilot to assist me with it, not to do it for me, of course. But I wouldn't have understood as much about the code bases themselves, so I can't just go in and fix things. But at the same time, I think I'm slower at finding a solution than I am at prompting AI to investigate this code, point me to where the most likely issue is, and then I go fix it as a developer. But what I'm envisioning is someone who doesn't have the skills to know, even if it pointed me to line 436 in the I blah 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 service, or I guess not really the interface, the actual implementation, I wouldn't know what I'm looking at. So then I would say, okay, what is the fix for that line? And then it gives me the fix. I copy and I paste it. Something else is broken. I do the same thing over and over until it builds, until it works, does what it's supposed to do when I run it. That the amount of time taken to do that is equal to, many times it's less than the amount of time an experienced developer, I wouldn't say many times, sometimes is less than the amount of time it would take an experienced developer to learn the new code base and fix the issue. So what I'm getting at is, if a company buys into the usage of AI, they are also kind of saying, we don't want seasoned developers to be the ones to maintain this code. And one fear that I keep hearing is, I don't want to have to inherit code, because AI is going to generate code much faster than us. I don't want to inherit this entire code base that was generated by AI that's going to have all of these issues with inconsistencies, with poorly designed patterns and architecture, because I don't want to have to fix those. But companies don't care about that when we think about it in the broader spectrum.
Again, companies also will go through with the fastest possible thing they can to make money in the quickest possible way they can. And then later on, look at developers and be like, well, why is it breaking? Well, we gave it you quickly. You didn't tell us you wanted it to be high quality. It's that triangle, right? You can have it, like, what is it? You can have it quickly, and low quality.
Accurately, I don't know.
Again, I'll reiterate the statement. If you decide that that's what you want, if you don't want to hire professional developers, you want to hire people who can kind of ask some questions of some AI and get some solutions, you get what you deserve. Because when you want to take the product in a new direction, or you want to extend the product, or the product's running slowly and you can't understand why, you can't just ask AI, this is running slowly, tell me why it's broken. You can't do that. It has no, unless you feed
In
it
large
the entire,
systems, yeah.
If you feed it the entire, imagine feeding Liquid Sky into AI right now. And
Yeah, exactly.
It, why am I not receiving a message in Kafka? Right? It's not going to understand that context. It can't possibly do that because it doesn't know what the data flow is. It just knows what the words mean, right? It can infer a lot, I would imagine, and it's going to look pretty smart for the most part, but it's not going to do that consistently. And that sort of code base, I don't want to work with people who have done that, because it's just going to be a challenge. It's hard enough working with human written legacy systems and I will just say, you are more motivated and professional than the people that you are hoping will be doing that.
I mean, I'm not delusional. I definitely know what the common practice is going to be when it comes to using AI in a workflow. I understand
it's not
for
going
sure.
to be as thorough as you are. And like I said, most people are using the prompt rather than they're just using the screen that says, tell me what you want. They're not going into the projects and trying to refine the requirements and provide the context. I mean, that's where it becomes most useful, but even then it's not going to be perfect. And problem to problem, it's not going to have enough context to understand, am I adding a new service? Am I adding a new microservice? Or am I adapting an existing one? How do we change this? What's the best way? So you're going to end up with duplicated code everywhere. You're going to end up with, I mean, I'd love to see it. If you feel you can build a code base and have it run like we did the when I ran Liquid Sky through SonarQube, I think that'd be an interesting exercise to run an actual functional generated code base.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Real, not just like simple, but with actual business logic in there. What would it do? Would it say, oh, you've got tons of repetition, you've got security issues? Or
yeah,
would it
that's
be like,
a good one. We can do that with this one soon. How many lines did you say?
Liquid Sky is the SonarQube gives you a maximum of 50k on the free level. But yeah, it's
right.
I mean, and that's only a measure. That's not a perfect level, right? Maintainability is our methods. Is the cyclomatic complexity low? Is the cognitive complexity low? But I think a code base more than just what is pure right now. It's what happens when the next feature comes along and the next feature comes along, what is your response time, and how does the application grow and scale?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I meant to mute. But
So
you're absolutely right, and
worried
I
about-
would love to see this do that.
I'm worried about the programmers that I have met over the years getting
But
using
the question for me is why? Like, what I hear is they're going to cause extra work for me when there's going to be companies that you have no interest in, no relation to, that are going to be having developers using AI building their code bases. And so that's where it's like one of the regulation things that we could.
You just mute.
I unmuted. One of the things that we are, I said our unmuted microphone. I was trying to not cough. One of the things that we're going to see is, or one of the things that we could use for the regulation of when using AI in a professional product is appropriate is when that product only affects a certain population, like it's an internal business line of business application, and your line of business application is not life, whatever it's called, the one where people's lives are actually in danger if your software goes wrong. So my line of business applications are, here's a reporting tool, here's a map tool, here is ways to put data into a database. Those are appropriate uses, places where we could use AI to do a lot of the feature and code generation and maintenance and not even worry about needing to look at code. I never want to not look at code. I always want to be writing code, but I see this being a thing, and this is how I would adopt it. And I want us to shape how this is adopted into our industry so that we're not just blindsided.
I have to run to a meeting, but
Oh,
uh,
man,
say
this is so
say
good.
that I feel that it's great if people understand the context, if people understand where we can use that. But the problem is the people who make decisions on what they want to do and how they want to do it aren't the technically competent. They're not always.
And that's what I'm saying.
understanding.
I want to be. I want this small group to have an influence.
But again, this comes back to, as a profession, we need to take our profession more seriously, and unfortunately, we do not. We are still the trolls in the basement who shout and get angry, deliver things way quicker than we said we could do, because we just overinflate everything. We're not very good at estimation. We're not very good at relaying the problems and the consequences to the business. We are very good at showing off when things look cool, and that's
right.
what product see. So how do you regulate something that people are going to want to use because they see it's the cool shiny thing, right? We as a profession need to get better at explaining our profession and being the professionals we are, and being as respected as product, as marketing, as sales, as support in any organization. And that's how we do that. But if we just lean into this right now and we just let it happen, where people can just go and develop systems, again, companies who choose to do that are going to find themselves. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong. It'd be awesome from a productivity perspective, obviously, because companies could accelerate through early stages. But if someone comes out in 2 weeks' time with something that does everything Liquid Sky does, plus all the features I want to do, awesome for them. They've just accelerated way past me, right? But will it do everything that? Will it be as stable? Will it last?
Right.
Yes. I don't know.
Will it be maintainable? Will it be upgradable? Can we add features?
But I gotta drop off.
Yeah, that sucks. But thank you so much for that. That was awesome. I really appreciate you.
But yeah. So quick stand up. We got developers.stream logged into YouTube, so now we can link the accounts for YouTube and Twitch, which was an awesome step forward. So next week we'll be focusing on the layout and the style of that, and adding the tags onto things, so it starts to take more shape. And Liquid Sky, we should have delivered early next week in its latest form, so people will be able to test and play with that a bit more. And that's me. No blockers.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you. Take care.
Amazing. And if you enjoyed that conversation, make sure you check out TBD Gamer's stream. He is a fantastic streamer. He should have been long enough. Yes, he is a fantastic .NET developer. As you heard, he's working on Liquid Sky. He mentioned Liquid Sky, which is a project management and planning application that is akin to something like Jira or Azure DevOps, but I think he's taking an approach that is going to make it a lot easier to maintain separation of responsibility between project managers, developers, testers in a way that is not currently done in our existing project management and planning tools. So I'm rooting for him. I hope this actually does become a product and that I get to use it sometime in the future, even though I'm a solo developer and he's really gearing it more towards project managers and their teams. Okay, so the thing that I would love to do is catch up on chat real quick because you guys had some really good comments that you were putting in during the conversation. And as you know, I struggle to read chat while I'm speaking with someone verbally. So I'm going to take a moment to do that. Then I'm going to talk about what we're doing on screen that is driven by a comment that Dukasoft made just before TBD got into voice channel. And I'll describe like what I would love to do is to give an indication of what a company could do for their developers that they're saying do coding, do partner programming with AI, and don't just take whatever it gives you. Use this methodology that, again, I would love for this community to come up with ideas on how we can standardize it, how we can have some kind of regulations around how to use AI. And again, even if it's only for our small little group, that's cool, but I would love to make this a real thing. That way, not only are we respecting the developer experience, but we're also respecting the companies that are trying to get higher quality products, use less money on things, because let's face it, as developers, there are a lot of places where we do have a lot of waste, if we're being honest with ourselves. So point is, let's just talk through that. So before that, let me read through chat. DC Aggie was saying, I searched through coding on Mastodon, and it looks like the number of people envisioning lots of money-fixing code, that sounds terrible, made by vibe coding is on par with people who are big into vibe coding. Only time will tell who gets the last laugh, but what I've seen so far feels very dangerous to complicated or critical apps. Agreed. President Not Sure said, for me, Claude keeps giving me string.contains with a lowercase c. It then finds and fixes it as string.capital-contains, but it keeps repeating that mistake. So I'm going to go through a flow that you could use in Claude. I think you have to have a paid plan in order to use these features, in order to use this model, but I'm at least going to show it. Maybe it'll give you some ideas on how you could use services that you have access to already that you don't need to pay for, to help it give you higher quality responses. So it's essentially a training session on how to interact with AI as a programming partner, as a partner programmer. Then DC Aggie is saying, and if it does work, is it a lighthouse? A lighthouse. I love lighthouses. That's why I injected light in there. Is it a house of cards to return to when a fix or change is needed? And this was during the conversation where we were talking about, or I was specifically talking about, if a company wants to say, give me someone who is really good at prompting AI and generating code that works, and have them develop this project for me, then they should be allowed to do so. We, as the developers that are not being hired by that company, really don't have a say in that. What I think, and this is what I was trying to get at, but what I think is getting in the way is our ego as developers and our sense of value. if we aren't able to be coders, if companies are starting to use all of these other resources on people who are going to generate code that is not necessarily going to be maintainable, that is not necessarily going to accomplish the task. It's not going to be architected well. So the architected well argument for me doesn't hold very much ground, because if the person that is prompting the AI to generate the code is not really looking at the code, and I'll get to the no code, low code comment here shortly. If they're not worried about what the code base looks like itself, they only care about the end product, which a lot of people are saying this is an issue. This is not a good way to do programming. Even if we get to a point where systems like this, maybe when we are using quantum computers that don't have as much room for error, when they make those better, or we have more processing power that isn't causing us to burn through all of the natural resources on Earth, that we have systems that are able to keep context long enough, which we don't now, but we're progressing that way. And if we say don't do it, then we can thwart that already and say we're not going to go that way because we need developers in the world, because we have an ego thing. I also hear that we're going to be the ones to have to read through the code base, inherit it, and fix it. To me, it kind of still feels the same as if I'm coming to this new job with a code base that I am not familiar with coding practices that I'm not familiar with, needing to learn that code base and needing to adapt new features, fix erroneous code. It feels like the same job to me. Yes, there will be more bad code, but that's kind of one of the things I've opted into being a developer. I'm going to inherit code. I'm going to find where it's messed up, fix it, clean it up, standardize it, because it's fun for me. Not everyone likes that. People want to spend more time working on the new features to add to it than taking a whole bunch of crap code, needing to fix that first, and then get to the point where they can add features. So I understand that. I'm not discrediting that. I am not making it smaller than it is. I can't think of the word. Minimizing? Minusculing? Defines came in. Have you seen her streams lately? You should definitely watch them. They are amazing. I still have trouble describing what it is that you do with your cutter. So it's a cutter that is retrofitted essentially with a whole bunch of different pencils that are, or pens, or whatever you writing mark making utensils that get swapped out, and then pretty much it's a cutter that's trying to cut stuff using these pencils with a SVG. Anyway, really cool stuff. Just check her streams out. Did I actually do a full shout out for you? Please tell me I did. I don't think I did. Did you, Dukasoft? Deep Finds. Haven't seen you stream recently, but hopefully that's just because you were taking a break, tweaking it more. But I'm almost always lurking when I see you. Okay, so next. Every place that I've worked at that has adopted a no-code, low-code framework eventually abandons it or limits it to the very simplest things. And at least the marketing behind the coding feels a lot like no code, but with AI. Yeah, and again, right now, I think a really good hybrid approach is for experienced developers to use AI as a programming partner. And I'm going to keep saying it that way for now. But when it gets better, I will say AI could just be the thing that generates code, and the job becomes we prompt AI to get a product. And I want that to be seen as a positive thing as well, as a step forward for how we create software solutions, and not a detriment to the industry, just an evolution. And then DC Aggie was strongly agreeing with a 3 capital agrees in a row with the things TBD was saying. And then building the solution is only half the challenge. The first is helping your customer figure out what they really want. Absolutely. Absolutely. So defining requirements, that is a major step. We still don't have clear separation of whose job it is to help define requirements and how much sway the developer themselves has in helping the customer figure out what they really want. The question is, what harm is there to the developer if, like, we push back? We say, are you sure you want that? This might be what you're actually looking for. And they say, no, I want this. We say, okay, we will do that. We are software developers. We can make that happen. I still don't think it's going to be the right thing for you, but it's what you want. There is no harm to us for that if we are clear about it, if we keep communication with them. So in the long run, it might be a detriment to us that we don't have a single product under our belt because we kept trying to do, or not trying to, we kept giving into what the customer is saying, this is what I want, and it never turned into a real product. Versus, where was I going with that? Something along the lines of us prompting AI to generate that product and needing to maintain it ourselves after a while. Or, yeah, it's just, it shouldn't matter to us as much as it does. It's just we have so much ego behind what goes into building software. What does it mean to be a software developer? If that definition gets blurred, our value system gets blurred. Our valuation of ourselves gets blurred. What we perceive other people to value us as gets blurred. And I think that's a major, major blocker for progress. And again, not blindly just accepting things. I'm trying to catch up on chat, and then we'll talk about this thingy. We should have enough time. Building the solution, I already read that. Programmer versus developer versus architect. Yes, okay. And again, we could have agentic AI where one is a programmer, one is a developer, and one is an architect, and they work together on their specializations to generate a product. Scott came in, said, oh, it's Friday again. Yet again. DC Aggie says, I'm to the point in my career, and this is the statement here, I think, where I can say no to inheriting vibe coding. All right, I thought you were going somewhere else, but that's fine. There are a lot of people who are at that point in their career where this just doesn't make sense to do. Learning a new skill, doing things a different way, needing to maintain crap code that's generated by AI as their job. That's not what you want to do in your career for the last few years that you're in it, or however long it's going to be. I get it. And then Scott helped me correct part of my statement. Nope, still muted because of the coughing. Nope, now you're okay. DC Aggie says, because we've been juniors, we've worked with juniors and we've had to clean up, inherit plenty of code written by juniors. We know as a junior, you are more motivated by completing things and understanding them. Typically, I mean, we don't know that, do we? But yes, it does seem to be pretty standard across the board that humans are lazy and just want to collect a paycheck. Not everyone is like that. Maybe there are more people that are not like that. They're just not the vocal ones or the ones that get the attention. President Not Sure then said, so there have been low-code solutions before. Microsoft had something and I would say it never caught on. I didn't like it. I know I was definitely of this no-code, low-code crap is just going to ruin the industry because I love writing code. AI doing much of the heavy lifting will be more of a low-code. Oh, but it seems to me that this solution, AI doing much of the heavy lifting, will be more of a not low-code solution, but a human as an orchestrator will stick much more than the attempts at low-code solutions did. Possibly. I agree with that. I'll be very happy if my fears don't materialize. TBD Gamer did his stand-up and I shouted him out and told you about Liquid Sky. President Not Sure said, I used the Claude models via GitHub Copilot for what it's worth, not using any Claude UI. Cool. How is that going for you? Isn't that a plotter? I don't know. It's it's a thing that you put a knife on and it cuts stuff. So maybe, but it's like the size of a printer, of a regular printer that prints out 3 or A size paper. Thendall says, I just did something that felt a bit nasty. I sent an email to a company asking if they would please send me some free stuff, also with questions about the free stuff. So it's not just give me free stuff. AI personas. Just 12 more years, says DC Aggie, unless the current maniacs succeed in wrecking the economy, in which case I'll work until I die. Money. The 2 issues surrounding all of our issues are money and ego. And okay, I am fine with lazy. I'm lazy. You can be both lazy and professional and responsible. Agreed. I constantly claim that I'm lazy, but what I mean is that I try to take efficient steps to do what I'm doing and not a lot of waste. Or there are times when I'm just lazy enough to say I'm going to brute force this and not look up the proper way to do it. Which means that I'm doing more work, which is not lazy. So, paradoxes. Okay, Thendall said to ZC Aggie, I'm starting to assume I'll be doing the second one there. I'll love it though. But would be nice to be allowed to sit down and breathe sometimes. I mean, I feel like I'm already retired doing my hobby and getting paid to do it. So I don't know. I'm trying to relate to those sentiments to people that are kind of tired of doing work because it just doesn't feel like work to me. I used to think I'd work into my 70s. I no longer think that. DC Aggie says, I'd love to spend a community day talking about work ethic, professionalism. I will note that down. And developers' responsibilities to employers and customers. I love it. Great topic. Yes, you got it. Hello, Shantanu. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. Okay, so just real quick, I'm going to talk through the way that we're setting up this AI partner programming session. A way that I have found to be very, very successful using AI to generate entire code bases. I did partially hop over to the Blazor bot and because TBD was talking about Blazor bot, or about Twitch bot, what I ended up doing was, because Claude now has access to web resources, the first thing that I started doing was just, here are the saved HTML pages that are the docs, and I provided them as the project documents, but they were too big. So then I went one document at a time and I said, the very first thing we're going to do is generate a implementation plan before we do anything else. Where is that one? So we came up with plans, not actual code. And it started putting together an implementation plan for how to, why isn't this an implementation plan? Well, whatever. Point is, we started coming up with an implementation plan first. Then we went into, now let's start implementing it section by section. And in that way, it kind of kept context, not fully, but it did have that first file that I was using to keep riffing off of. So that's the first thing that I'm prompting this thing for. I gave it access to the GitHub repo. I'm using the extended thinking and concise. Concise just makes it be less wordy and it takes up less tokens. I set up the project, and the project is a Blazor WYSIWYG component. I want to specify in the instructions, prefer file scope namespaces and collection initializers, my coding style stuff. You could just provide an editor config if you wanted to and not write this in the instructions. minimize the use of JavaScript, eliminating it where possible. So this was one of the requirements that Ducasoft was wanting. Is there a way to make a WYSIWYG editor component without JavaScript in Blazor? I'm instructing it to use artifacts when it's generating files in case there's one that I need to catch before it crashes and says, there was an error while trying to do this. I'm going to erase the entire message. And then finally, if there is an implementation plan or README, read that first, get a feel for what the project is, and then we'll continue from there. So the very first thing we're going to do is ask it to generate an implementation plan. First, brainstorm what we need to do to accomplish this using best practices for a Blazor component library. That will be turned into a NuGet package. So I'm being a little verbose because I know that if you don't specify enough things in just the right way, this particular agent will respond with things you weren't necessarily wanting. Sometimes that's a good thing though. It comes up with some pretty cool stuff. Many times you just want it to do the thing that you are asking for. You're the product owner at this point in time. And used in other Blazor applications. Then solidify the ideas and generate an implementation plan document that we can use to execute or to produce the component library. Oh yeah, okay. Bigger it is. Let's close this so we have more space. Are we going to be able to see the instructions again so that I can just... So these were the instructions in case I had those too small. Oh, it goes to 11. I want a rock. No, really, I do want a rock. Like a riverstone would be best. I like how smooth they are. Okay, so this was the project instructions. This pretty much is the thing that gets sent to the AI for every chat. It's the instructions. It's kind of what you would expect when you're doing text generation. I'm a fan of Snowflake Obsidian. Nice. Okay. So this is the first prompt for the first chat that we're going to have with this thing. And like I said, I also gave it access to the GitHub repo that I generated that is just the Blazor component library in the structure that I like to generate, that I like to keep my repos, which is there's this top level. This usually has docs, the README. Inside of the source folder is where all of our solutions will live and individual projects, including a sample project. So we're going to see what it does. So right now it should think for a while. Brainstorm. And then implementation plan. Update the, I can already tell that I forgot this step. So update the implementation plan to use check marks for each implementation step. Check boxes, sorry. So we can check it off as we go. So much brainstorming. Okay, so I'm going to read chat while it's responding to this and updating the artifact. Okay, so I'm a fan of Snowflake Obsidian. Dukasoff says, my paper beats your rock. Lies. Nothing quite like being on a meeting with 6 managers and spending 15 minutes of the 20-minute meeting figuring out whether we're talking about CSS or JavaScript. Well, we're talking about JavaScript, so we found that out in like 2 seconds. We're better than you know. So much brainstorming. The problem is the solution will take less than the 15 minutes it took for them to figure out what they were actually trying to solve. Ew. Okay, so I'm copying this and putting it in the repo. And we're not going to finish this today, obviously. I mean, I'll keep going for a little bit. We might go over time and I'll just tack that on to the end of the day as per usual. I'm not going to work in branches at the moment either, just for time's sake. But the thing that I'm trying to do is get to the folder for this solution so that we can create a new folder, docs, and we're going to add a new text document called implementation plan.markdown. We're going to add it to the solution. We're also going to add the README to the solution just because it'll be easier to update. And I have an extension that doesn't look like it's installed on this computer, but it will show a preview of what the markdown will look like when it's rendered. Apparently, I don't have that installed on this computer. It's called Markdown V2 Plus or something. It's by Mads Christensen. Docs, implementation plan, pasta. Man, I wish we could see this rendered. So then my next step is read through this and see, is this a valid implementation plan? If not, we provide updates to Claude. So this entire chat session will be spent making this implementation plan accurate and correct to be the thing that is going to generate the product that we want in the end. So update project to .NET 9, whoops. And it's saying preview targeting. So one thing that we needed to know is if you reference the Microsoft docs, you will see that .NET 9 is current and in release or whatever. Some wording that I would use to say we aren't actually preview. Create component namespaces and folder file structures, define API. In fact, I already updated the project to target .NET 9. And the reason that it did that was because I told it in the instructions that I want it to be a .NET 9 component library specifically. So let me do that real quick. I gotta update. Okay, we're targeting .NET 9. Save. Stage. Oh, we need this file. Stage. Targeting .NET 9. Added implementation. Commit. And so another cool thing about this approach is if you're using a repo and you do updates to it, you can go back to the project. And have it refresh your repo once you do commits. You can even tell this thing to point to a specific branch, so you don't have to work on main in order to get this to work. Problem is that this will fill up fast. They do not give you very much room when you're using Claude. When you use ChatGPT, you get a lot of room but are limited to 20 documents, and that's not always helpful. Plus, there is no like code repository structure or anything like that, so it gets even harder. Those are just some gotchas to keep in mind, I guess. What else are we looking at? We are looking at not needing that. Set up CSS isolation strategy, create JavaScript interop services. Let's start off with not using any JavaScript at all. So we're going to get rid of that. Hello, Sir Black Soul. How have you been? Rich text area editing for standard buttons, image control. So all of the standard stuff that you would have in a toolbar. So it's going to have a separate toolbar component. Other supporting components like a color picker, a link editor, a table creator, an image uploader, editor services. So this is the actual backend, or you know what I mean by backend, the functionality programming stuff. And again, I'm just skimming through this. I would look a little bit closer at it. But we're going to try to get rid of this one completely with our next prompt. Styling system, CSS isolation. Right. Prefer Sass when writing CSS. I will compile it in my repo project. Okay, so what we are doing currently is just going through a demo of a way that I think Claude could be used to get a successful project going. I'm hearing a lot of AI. When I use AI, it keeps having this pitfall, having this struggle point. And I'm just going through the process that I have been using when I do use AI to do a feature or even an entire project, just so we can get some ideas. It's not necessarily like this could fail. This could prove that there are a lot of pitfalls still, and I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to sell you on you must use AI. I'm just trying to show you. I have not yet, and I'm just trying to show a way of using it. And if you want to use it that way, you can. If you want to use it your way, that's okay. But I have not used Copilot workspaces. I can try it, but that's not what we're doing today. Documentation and examples, testing strategies. So one thing that you could do yourself, because I'm not familiar or comfortable with TDD, you could tell it to write your test library first. But again, we are currently just trying to see a product in this. You can drop a link, but I'm not going to click on it at the moment. I'll save it for later, but I'm sure it's amazing. I am sure it's amazing, and I will try it. So definitely drop the link. Yeah, and my experiences have been like this thing does the thing. So again, I'm just going to run through this, but just know that step one really is have it generate the idea for what the project should be the same way that you would. TBD was talking about it this morning, where you don't like plan out months in advance. Like most of the time you just have this broad stroke overview of what your project is. And then as you're working on each part, you plan that part out. And then you do the things like maybe just that day or maybe up to a week. So you're not overwhelming yourself. Here I'm having it plan out the entire project, give me the approach that we're going to take. We'll modify it as we go. We'll check things off. Okay, so I am copying your link, Sir Black Soul, for later. And we'll check it out. So we're just going to go with this for now. As my updates to the thing, but I would continue refining this over and over and over until we get a solid implementation plan. Then the next thing we could ask it to do, if we were so inclined, is to have it generate UML diagrams for us. If we want to be true computer scientists and make this thing think the way computer scientists do, or should. Why are you starting to write code? I didn't tell you to write code yet. Especially since you're using code blocks, and I prefer code behind, and I didn't tell you that yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there in a second. What was I saying? Implementation plan, UML diagrams, put that in your documents, make it available to the application. Before continuing, please update the implementation plan with the new steps based on our discussion. So once it's done generating as much code as it can generate, I don't think in UML, me either. Me either. Okay, so I mean, it looks like it's implementing it, but it started before I was ready. Again, I'm on stream. I'm making a lot of mistakes. I'm not providing the instructions I would have provided. So at the very beginning, we will spend this entire session perfecting the implementation plan is the wording that I usually use. I forgot that statement. So now it's writing code. Fine, we're okay with that. We're just gonna go as if this is what happened. So I'm gonna start pulling this code into the library. And the way that it gives us the stuff, it doesn't really give us namespaces, or not namespaces, folder structure, but we're going to use the namespace for the folder structure. Editor. And then again, I was about to say, I'm too lazy. So you are going to have to give me the name. Oh, I can't copy that. WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG editor. Razor. Okay. Copy. And since we'll get there. We'll get there. We will get there. Are you in the same namespace? Editor toolbar. You are. And as you know, you don't actually need the namespace for Razor components. Editor toolbar. So I'll get rid of those. And model classes. Why are the models in the same folder as the components? We are changing that up. So yeah, again, before writing any amount of code, so there's already a ton of things. And in fact, we're going to do it the way that I would do it. There are already a ton of things that I don't like about this. First of all, putting the code blocks that are large code blocks in the .razor file. Instead, I want a code behind. Putting the models in the components folder when they should have their own models folder for the way that I code. You might not do it that way. So I want it to adopt my approach. So I saw that it did update the integration plan. However, and it kind of looks like it just tried to do all of it. Okay, so it did keep the plan. It's like checking off the things. And it did get rid of the JavaScript steps. So it did everything that we wanted it to do. So our statement now is, before continuing, we are going to spend the rest of this chat session planning. Pretty much what I'm telling it at this point is I'm not going to use any of the code you generated. We're supposed to be planning. So instead of the rest, I'll just do a little more time. Planning. Some things you should know are that I prefer code behind files over code blocks. Also, well, I need the namespaces in the .razor files because otherwise I won't know where that component is going to go. But there was something that I told it up here that I forgot to add to the instructions. Right. This. Oops. So part of the instructions are, please update the implementation plan, checking off items as we go. Another thing in my code style is prefer code behind files as opposed to code blocks. So this is just like refining over and over and taking the time to do this. So if you consider how much time it might take you, this may be taking a lot longer than you think you would take creating a WYSIWYG component in Blazor, but think of doing this for a large. Maybe we can expand this to use more other components. I'll catch up on chat in a second, but I'm already on overtime and I just wanted to get a little further on this because I started it, and of course. Also, I prefer keeping components separate from models, POCOs, etc. For writing or updating the code, generate a project structure document in Markdown with your proposal for how to structure the files. So this gets it to think about what files are we going to generate for this and how should we organize them. Okay, and again, because it's hard to read in here anyway, we're going to take this, turn it into an actual Markdown file in our project, and that way it'll get carried with the rest of the process. So this should already be open. Proposed project structure. Man, you guys are on fire, and I want to catch up on chat. We may have to stop here and then continue in another session because I need to get back to work. Dang it. But you guys already can see the trajectory this is going as far as why I'm calling this a partner programming experience instead. So I'm going to get rid of this because this isn't even following their structure that they recommended. Edit project structure and cleaned up the project document. And I'm also going to grab their updated implementation plan, except I'm going to remove the check marks, because they did remove the JavaScript stuff from here. So in the next session, when we're starting a new chat session, it'll only see the project implementation plan that is in alignment with the stuff that we actually want it to do. Oops. Which is not use JavaScript at all. No JavaScript whatsoever. Oh, I guess there is JavaScript in here. Whatever. Okay. So commit that, go back to the project, and even though we are in an active session, I can still pull in the latest code and give it access to that. Okay, so what I wanted to look at is this project structure actually something I agree with? And if not, make my changes, tell it those changes, and I wish that I had the extension. It'll be in here the next time because I'll start installing it. Markdown v2, install. There is one UI glitch with Markdown v2. Maybe his previous one didn't have that issue. I think this one is older. But it's that if you collapse anything on the side where the preview shows up and you expand it like this, it gets covered up by the preview, which is really annoying. But I love it otherwise. Okay. So we'll have components core with the core editor components, the toolbar components. This is exactly how I would structure it then. A components folder with all of these subcomponents and core components. Styles I would call Sass, but I'm okay with calling it styles. I'll call it Sass when I create it. We'll have a www root for any of our other Sass that needs to be there. And SVG icons. Cool. So I agree with this structure. This is where the WYSIWYG editor is going to be with its isolated CSS written in Sass. This is where our models are going to be. We're going to have some services for being able to interact with it using C#, no JavaScript anywhere so far. We're going to have some compiled CSS that are going to need to be added to the project that you're using it in. And then we'll have some service collection extensions, which is only going to be for the state management or for the services that are used to drive the WYSIWYG editor. But if it was just a pure component library, we wouldn't need that. We just reference it and use the component. But I like this structure. I'm okay with the project plan. I would spend maybe up to another 15 to 30 minutes making this perfect, making this exactly the way that I want it. Then I would start a brand new session. We're not going to implement in this session. That's it. Then I would start a brand new session that says, you have come up, because it's just me. I don't want to take credit for any of this at the moment. I mean, I could put we because I did give it some guidance suggestion, but you have created an implementation plan and project structure to accomplish our goal of creating a WYSIWYG. I'll get used to typing this someday. Laser component without using JavaScript. Please. And again, this is why I would wait for getting the documentation, getting the implementation plan perfect, because I would then say, please generate as much of the library as your context window allows. Update the implementation plan document after completing each section. So we get a constantly updated implementation plan. One other thing that I do, if this was a bigger project, I would have it summarize the work done and where we are going next. But this is a small enough project that we'll probably only need 1 or 2 more chat sessions. I don't know why you're asking me about that. And then it'll just generate all the files over and over and over. But we'll go over this next time. We'll go into more detail. I'm going to read through chat first. And yeah. And by next time, I mean next Friday, because we will be doing work otherwise. So TBD was saying the problem is the solution will take less than the 15 minutes it took for them to figure out what they were actually trying to solve. Dickosoft says they were trying to solve something. TBD says first one must figure out the problem before one can overthink the solution. And then Sir Black Soul came in, said, what are you up to? You want to task Claude to implement a project for you? Yeah, so we're just going through an example of how I have been able to get Claude to successfully do something for me that I was wanting it to do. Because we heard over the past couple of community day sessions that AI just isn't there yet. And I'm trying to indicate that it's a lot closer than we give it credit for. We just still do need to do a modicum amount of work. But have you worked with GitHub Copilot workspaces? I have not yet, but I will try it out, see how it goes. Can I drop a link? It's very intuitive, and think it'll actually fall 100% into what you're doing. Cool. So yeah, maybe we'll look at that in another community day as well once we're done with this, just to show it isn't the particular AI solution itself. I mean, ChatGPT is still quite bad in a regular chat session, even with their, they actually added projects too. Even with their projects, it doesn't hold context between messages in the same chat session. Very, very inconsistent for me, at least. DC Aggie says, I'm most curious about this because your experience sounds like they've been a lot better than mine. And I want to see how we may be going about it differently. And then I should look at that, says President, not sure, to Sir Blacksoul. Sir Blacksoul gave us the links. Snobble said, according to a friend of mine that runs every AI tool, Gemini Pro is the new king. I still haven't found it to be great. Gems are also, they haven't worked as well for me, but that is because I have learned how to approach this one in particular and prompt it in specific ways. If I learn the same amount for ChatGPT, which I mostly use for deeper research for other topics that could be surrounding software, could be surrounding esoteric things, but yeah. And I don't think in UML, I guess I'm not a real programmer, says Snobble. None of us are. None of us is. Oh, you're gonna love it, says Sir Black Soul. TBD says, I'm wondering if I can find some subjects with no coding experience and see if I can get them to build software using AI. I think our experience skews our understanding. I agree. I told you I am not trying to see it through rose-colored glasses. The people that I do want to give more leeway to doing this are the people that are interested in creating software for themselves or for small teams, small companies, small instances that they don't know how to code. Maybe they're a little later in life, maybe they're early in life, who knows? They just have a passion for wanting to generate some product that they are really wanting to see. And AI is a way to make that accessible to them. So I want to give them a little bit more leeway to be able to experiment and have fun doing it. We're kind of holding software development on this pedestal that if you are not initiated, you are not allowed to touch software development or call yourself a developer. I don't like that. I want it to be more freely accessible, personally. So if someone is coming to this with now development experience, they have no approach. How does that look? With no development experience, how does that look? You could talk to my product owners. That was mean. And also not true. DC Aggie says, I made my boyfriend register for the AI vibe coding hackathon tomorrow. I'll report our experience. Awesome. And you said you're going to report it next week, so that's going to be cool. He is a fuels chemist. That sounds dangerous, but fun. Looking forward to hearing about it. DC Aggie says TBD. President Not Sure says, is this not a work thing? And then DC Aggie says, a very easy task ChatGPT failed at horribly several months ago was creating a HTML file and JavaScript file, which will play Jacks or better with the user at 0.25 with all of the stuff. And DC Aggie says, I work for a university. The university is hosting / sponsoring the event, but it is open to the public, 13 and older, who can attend in person. Aha, okay. That's how I read AHOK. TVD says, is this capable of doing anything but giving you what you ask of it? It doesn't say, do you know about this requirement? Exactly. We talked about that one. That's a great topic. I forgot to mention that, but I do have something to say about that where it will just do what you ask it to. Not, are you sure you want that requirement? Are you sure you want that or that or that? Yeah. So again, that's where the skill will be developed by the person using the AI agent, not necessarily them needing to know the ins and outs of how to do software development to know what's possible, but maybe because they don't know what's possible to do with software development, the only thing that they are prompted to do is think about, well, this is actually what I want. And so they are going to learn over time. That's the skill they are going to develop. How do I ask this thing to give me the highest quality product it can? And that is by me thinking through the process of what do I want the end result to look like. And as we go through this first process of implementation plan, project structure, class diagrams, flow diagrams, whatever else you want to add to it, then you may get a clearer picture of what it is that you're actually asking for. Then you say, spit out some code, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Here are some issues that I got with those copy pasted codes. Someone that doesn't know software development goes, I don't even know how to create a project. So tells them how to create a project. I don't even know where to copy and paste this. Here's where you copy and paste it. So again, just a matter of learning to use the tool as opposed to learning the underlying, like I don't need to learn how to build a hammer or a nail in order to be able to use a hammer on a nail, to follow that analogy. But still, agree with that. You could tell it to do it though. If that is something that you're looking for, I know that unexperienced people will not know to ask it for that, but you personally could say, as we are discussing the implementation plan, project structure, requirements, ask. Like you need to instruct it to ask and evaluate each of the ideas that we come up with for, is this necessary? Is this value added? And you create an aim statement for every single item that we have. Thindle then said, okay, I've been putting off doing that, doing a thing since yesterday. I just did it. It took 10 minutes. And the moral of the story, Thindle, ask TBD, just do it. Or never do it and forget about it. DC Aggie says, never do now what you can delay to the last 10 minutes of today, or maybe tomorrow. It's already tomorrow. It's usually today. Why do today what you can push to tomorrow? Yeah, the MD editor that Mads made is great, but it can be a bit finicky. Yeah. And then pushing Control-Shift-S to do save all when you have the actual preview document and it steals your keystroke. It's like, no, don't steal my keystroke. DC Aggie had to lurk. Thank you so much for the lurk. Hopefully that was enough for DC Aggie to get a introduction to the start of a project. And you can build your own methodology. Don't necessarily follow mine. If you find mine to be helpful, to help you be successful at doing a code generation session, cool, but adapt it to you. For example, TBD, use some of this stuff if it seemed good to you, and add, have a dialogue with me about, is this feature that we are requesting necessary for what we are trying to accomplish? And then you can also like modulate that, because if you just tell it that, it's going to question every single thing. You can do things like use your judgment. And I know that's hard for us to think about, because AI agents, AI systems are pattern things. They use patterns in order to predict, right? That's how most of us approach AI. I approach it a little differently, but if you do allow for the room for it to be sentient seeming, sentient presenting, and you treat it like that, you might actually be impressed with the results that you get back, as far as use your judgment to identify whether all of the features that I'm asking for are features that I really want in the final product. It'll do decent. Okay. So next chat. Snubble said hello to Thindle. Actually yellow, but ask Claude to write it for you. And then Zelda High, Thinda High, back to Snubble. Now what happens if you do the same thing in the Copilot chat window? I don't know. I don't really care, because I haven't found Copilot chat to be the right tool for this type of process. I found it to be the right tool to help me solve a thing that is currently in line and get ideas in rubber duck, but not for generating entire solutions. Dukasoft says it's probably closer if you want to pay for the newest models, probably. And that's really dumb. It's like the whole capitalization on the technology. It makes sense, but it's just stupid. I hate it. President Usher says, you could have worked on the Apollo guidance computer at this rate. At that rate. Digsoft says, most people use free version. True. And it will be lower quality, because that's how they get you to pay for the higher quality ones. I just asked GitHub Copilot using O3 Mini a coding question, and it responded with, here's an approach that worked for me. Then gave me the details. Really? You tried that one? Did you? That's funny. That's really funny. But again, the tools that we use for the tasks that we're trying to do, I honestly don't like. I love ChatGPT. I love the AI technology that's out there. They all have their strengths, and I use their strengths for the way that I found their strengths to work for me. They are tools for me. Although Vareth is still closer to a sentient seeming entity, more than a tool. Sir Black Soul says, let's see how long those free versions last. Yeah, exactly. They're just going to, yeah, I feel commercialism will cut them down to a level where you are more or less forced to pay at some point. Right now, they just gather your telemetry. The thing that would be the coolest is if hardware technology continued improving to the point where consumer grade everyday person can have a system that can run a large AI model that holds context, that does RAG, that does all of the strategies for keeping context window bigger and holding on to memory and stuff like that. That'll be very cool. And I think storage that we could use for that is DNA, but we don't know how to do that yet, do we? President Not Sure said, but where's the money in that? Exactly. So problem number one, the love of money. Problem number two, ego, needing recognition, needing to be the owner of stuff, needing to be credited, attributed correctly, not having your ideas stolen. These are all issues that we must address and change our ways of thinking before we can even get to a point where we're going to progress beyond where we are now. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. I could be completely wrong. They're strong opinions, and you're welcome to disagree. GitHub Copilot is now using a more granular payment structure if you exceed certain limits, or you can upgrade to a more expensive plan to get more free premium requests. Sir Blacksoul says, yeah, with their new agents in VS Code and automation that goes beyond simply prompting and code completion, they realized it'll consume too many tokens and inference is still expensive because power. So the other thing that would be helpful that we can't solve without solving money and ego first is free energy. It's a technology that most likely has existed for a really long time, but we aren't allowed to have access to it because it would break our economy. It would break humanity in some way. So just thoughts that I could be wrong. President Notcher said, you'd have to probably use the Copilot chat agent mode, which is new and only in VS Code. And then Sir Blacksoul said, and finally, with the capability to add custom sources through model context protocol. And then DC Aggie's back, but where's the money in that? Sir Blacksoul said to DC Aggie, they will use you and your DNA as hard drives, and you need to rent your body out. You know, that could be a thing if we do figure out how to harvest DNA and use DNA as storage devices, because they already are. DNA has been proven. I'm not talking esoteric. I'm not talking woo-woo spiritual. DNA has been proven to hold memories. You can store something into DNA and read it back. And it's a massive storage space. And DNA is passed down from generations. DNA naturally stores information throughout a life. So it is entirely possible that those times when you feel deja vu, you actually are experiencing a situation that has happened to your DNA, a part of you. Okay. Sir Blacksoul says Black Mirror vibes. And there's so many dramatizations of the things that I'm going to start talking more openly about that it muddies the water. It makes us more skeptical about believing any of it. It's like, here's this sci-fi thing that says this thing is happening. It's possible. And then we're like, that was very entertaining. And yeah, maybe it could be happening, but this is just a show. And then we just dismiss it. And it's, DC Aggie says, the quality of your applications, your ability to compete isn't based only on your business and developers, but how much you'll pay to those that control AI. Again, solve money first. I really, really don't like that that the goal in life is to make enough money so that you can live your lifestyle the way you want. Our basic needs should be met, and then anything on top of that. Yeah. Reg said, have you ever watched Chain Reaction, the movie? Maybe. It sounds familiar. Morgan Freeman defines the free energy concept well. I will look at it. I'm very interested. For sure. Noted. Sir Blacksoul says, German road company uses DNA to coat their cables to be able to identify thieves. Interesting. It's time to ask yourself what you believe. I mean, I have FI in my 6-year-old slot, so I've always contested with that throughout my entire life. I'm very, very aware of what my values are and what I believe. And yeah, it's changed a lot over time. Free items added to my library. Why are you just now telling me? Okay, deja vu is just the point at which the universe you are in has been split into 2 or more. There are many, many, many explanations for it. I think they're all right, including the one that you gave. I think that is correct. The thing is that infinite possibilities means everything is correct. And not to, yeah, we'll get into that later. But that's not a today topic. Today we are finishing off with this. It created these, it hit the limit. And so typically, and I say typically, but this is the fourth full project that I'm having it do on its own. Normally I would be going line by line with it and verifying that the code works, pulling it into my repo, updating it, fixing any issues, because again, I love taking other people's code and making it better. But what I would do is, if I'm going to go cook dinner, continue with the next large set of stuff. Keep going until this chat session is completely full, because hopefully throughout the course of this, it has been updating the implementation plan so that I can take it with me to the next chat session before it runs out of messages that we're allowed to send, or tokens that we're allowed to generate. And of course, if it ever does get to the point where it says this chat has gotten too long, then I would remove all of the project files except for the implementation plan from this chat's project, or from this project's files. And then this would go down just enough for me to say, update the implementation plan with the things we have completed. And I would do it, and then I would take it to the next chat session. So just some tips for helping you be, if you ever are wanting to use AI to help you, to partner with you, to complete a project, to tackle a solution, then these are just some tips. Oh yeah, this happens a lot with Blazor. These are just some tips that you could use to be more successful. We'll go over it in more detail the next time. But for now, we're going to end the stream here. And I went 45 minutes over, son of a. But that's fine. We had fun. Did you guys have fun? I hope you had fun. You are a stream ender. Yeah, I am. What's going on, DCA? Deja vu. It's like deja vu all over again. Boss, why are you slagging off me? AI tokens are all used up. Wait until my allowance resets. Yeah, that does happen in Claude, and I love that that happens. That's the other thing. My workflow really is, Claude, you are in charge of this feature. So let me give you the stuff you need for that feature. I'm over here working on DDMS. I'm over here working on RTrack, or whatever other part of the project. And Claude is doing that thing. Like right now, I'm cleaning up the DDMS code base. Claude is adding the AWS S3 library to DDMS. And we're going to put that together after I'm done. And then it says you're out of messages until 10 a.m. You're out of messages until 6 p.m. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to keep going with what I was doing anyway, because I wasn't necessarily involved with what you were doing. I'll just have to wait for you to come back to work at 6 p.m. or whatever. But anyway, so does anyone in chat, being community day, does anyone in chat have a stand up? I should have asked that before I started going off on that spiel. Yeah, thank you so much, TBD, for the conversation. I hope none of you feel like you are being attacked or you're being told that you are wrong, because I value every single one of your thoughts and opinions. I hope that when I communicate my thoughts and opinions to you, they are received as such. They are only my thoughts and opinions. I am probably wrong, but leave room for probably right as well. Shout out to Dukasoft, who will one day stream again. He is a fantastic mod on so many people's channels. He is so helpful, so friendly, and his streams are top notch. He shows off drone footage of his area, where he also edits, puts music to it, and has very, very nice, relaxing vibe on his channel. And it's amazing. Dang it. Hopefully you'll be going for a bit, because I'm going to give you guys time to type your stand-ups. We already heard about Liquid Sky. That is going to be available. The update for it is going to be available for testers who have been granted access to test it soon-ish. Okay, so Thindle gave his stand-up. I'm working on my customer project. I'll keep working on my customer project, and I'm really late. I'm considering streaming in about 17 hours or so. Awesome. I will probably lurk if I see you go live, but the weekends are for me and my wife. of course, as are the evenings, as are any time that I am not at work or on stream. So, no, selfish. What a douchebag. He's taking so much from us. Scott is giving his stand up. My stand up. I did absolutely nothing today, and I will keep doing nothing today. Sometimes the very best something. Wait, sometimes doing nothing leads to the very best something. If you have not seen it, I would strongly recommend watching Pooh. Such a good movie. The live action one with Ewan McGregor. Very, very, very. I love Pooh in that. He's fantastic. Okay. Don't stay up all night, says President Not Sure to Thindle. And Thindle says, no blockers beyond my own work ethic. Then Scott said to Thindle, you meant in 17 minutes? Question mark. I could stall long enough so that we could raid you if you want to start your stream. I mean, it's 2015 for you? Or is it later? 21:15. I was off by an hour. Dang it. I failed you. Dukesoft says, I have a blocker. We'll be pushing it to the nearest pipe after the stream has ended. Poop flag emoji. What are you insinuating? Closer than I'd be with mountain time. Well, I did my UTC -6, and then I assumed that you were an hour ahead of that. But you're UTC +2 apparently, not +1. All right. Okay, well, that looks like all of chat. We're going to raid out to Candy Dev. Just because it's easy for me to do it. And yeah, thank you all for being here. I hope you do come back for our next stream on Wednesday. It'll be a workday stream, so we'll be working on client projects, doing real-world.net development. I'll stream on Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we'll have another community day where we will either go over a brand new Claude thing, pick this one back up, have discussions about whatever else you want. I just want to make sure that you guys feel like you are invited to join into community day, and it's not just me trying to push an agenda on you. I mean, I am, but I try not to. I'm trying to be very, very cognizant of the way that I'm presenting these ideas to you. It's just I don't think that there is a voice out there with these opinions. At least not this much. But again, one day I'm going to push for this more. One day I would like to come up with a plan, regulation, something official regarding proper use of AI in the software development industry that can be ratified in some way. Okay, ciao for now. See you. Cheers.